Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another digest. This time, I have been a bit delayed, a bit lazy about doing these digests, so I'm a few months behind. So in this one, I'll be covering all the stuff that I consumed in April and May of 2025. So let's just get right into it. And the first one we have is a rewatch. So this is the Florida Project. It's a movie. It's an hour and 51 minutes long, and I watched it, well, I think I watched it on the 6th of April. I've been getting lazy with these, keeping track of these dates and stuff. But anyway, so this is one of my favorite movies of all time. I guess just for some context, I was doing this thing with my friend, which is that we each showed each other our three favorite movies. You know, it's very tough to come up with three, but I came up with my three. And my three were, oh boy, The Florida Project, The Lighthouse, and then One Cut of the Dead. So I think in this thing here, I'll be talking about two of them. But so I was showing this to her. And at the same time, I got to rewatch one of my favorite movies, which was very exciting. Now, I truly don't have too much to say. I watched this a few years ago. I think the main thing I would say is that this movie is basically just as good as I remember. It's a 5 out of 5 easily. And I think it's immediately obvious. I was a bit worried that, oh, maybe it'll take a while to get into this. My big memory was that, okay, this is like a slice of life movie, basically. You're following these kids and in their daily life, and not really too much happens, plot-wise or anything. And that kind of is true. But I was figuring it would be a bit more slow, I'd be finding it a bit more boring than I did the first time now that I already know what's going to happen. But no, it was very engaging. I was engaged from beginning to end. It truly is a slice of life movie, but it's really, really interestingly directed, which is, I think, true of the two movies that I've seen both. I think they're both, the director is Sean Baker, right? He did this and he did Anora, and I've seen both of them and they're both fantastically directed. And I think the directing just keeps it very engaging. But basically it was good, engaging, well directed, loved it. It was funny at times, very sad, and, I teared up at the end. Really good. Now, I think the most interesting thing to say is that so far, Anora is my favorite thing that I've seen this year, and it still continues to be the best thing that I've seen this year, only because the rewatch here doesn't count toward this year. This is a movie that I enjoyed far more than Anora, actually, surprisingly. I think it is, of the two movies, it is the better movie. I don't even know how to quantify it. They're very different stories. Like I said a million times already. This is a very slice of life. You're following kids. Not much happens, honestly. It's just interestingly directed. The dialogue is very natural and stuff, and the characters are very engaging, all that kind of stuff. That's this movie. And Nora is much more of a there is a plot, a lot more comedic. Focus. The appeal of that is entirely almost comedic for the latter half. It's the character interactions, I guess, pretty important in both. But I feel like Anora feels more like it's a scripted kind of. I know they're both obviously scripted, right? But Anora kind of feels like characters. The Florida Project feels like people, and I know they're both characters, but I don't know. The Florida Project just feels much more real than Anora is what I would say. Anyway, I don't know. I'm rambling at this point. Now let me go to my actual structured notes. Okay, the appeal of the movie is the grounded dialogue and interactions. That is true. Groundedness is, I guess, the appeal of the Florida Project. And I think the biggest part of this is the kids' dialogue. They just say the most random things that kids would say, and it just makes me think. And I looked into this, and I think it's the case, but there's no real evidence of this. But it truly feels like it when you watch the movie that a lot of this dialogue between, especially the kids, just feels unscripted. It's just they captured the kids saying something. One of them is one of the the funniest thing that's ever been said, which is that one of the kids, I don't remember which one, they're one of them says, "I like oranges." And then the other one's "Oh, I like orange soda." And I'm what a weird, there's no connection here. This is something a kid would say where it's they just want to fit in and say something that they're to follow up what their friend was saying. And it's this is lovely dialogue. So that was really good. There's a great scene where I think it's Mooney. Mooney showing their new friend, around, who's the main kid, obviously. For some reason, if you're listening to this and you haven't seen the movie, she's going around and showing her new friend, all the different things that she knows that are all the important parts of the little apartment complex she's living in, going oh, this is where this happens, and this is who lives here, and this is what this, and it's all these little details. I'm oh, this is cute. A kid is adventuring around, showing another kid all the fun little things in their little castle that they live in. It's really fun. Another great line of dialogue from the kids: "If I had a pet alligator, I would name mine Anne." It's completely unprompted. There's no need for this. I don't know why you would say this, but I completely buy that a kid would say this. It's just the funniest thing ever. Oh my god, I just spat on my mic, sorry. And then one other thing I have in another appeal of these interactions is there's a really good interaction where there's a character in this called Bobby, played by Willem Dafoe. He's probably the best character in this, the most enjoyable kind of performance to watch. And he has his son that shows up for, I think it's just for one scene, or maybe it's a few scenes throughout. And clearly, Bobby and his wife separated and have a very bad relationship, and they don't like each other, because Bobby's son shows up and he's he's Dad, I told Mum that you wished her a happy birthday. And Bobby like freaks out and is like, you call her back, and you tell her I did not say that. And like, this is so funny. And he's like really adamant about it. And he's like, that I need to make sure that my wife knows that I don't wish her a happy birthday. It's so funny. Yeah. And it's just a great interaction because it's also like very grounded. I could imagine people doing that in real life. Anyway, beyond that, again, every time I rewatch a movie, my notes are like a complete mess. Now, the only other things I really have notes on are that the main actress is really good. Haley is her name. She was good the first time, remember? She's fantastic in this one. Bobby, like I said, fantastic. And there's so many children in this movie. Like, there's at least 3 who are like main characters. Obviously, Mooney is the main character. They're all pretty great. Like, in terms of acting, like it's pretty impressive. Not once was I like, oh, that's like a kid actor, which happens in, for instance, The Last of Us later on in this digest. But yeah, impressive performances is what I would say by almost everyone in this movie, if not everyone. I don't know if there's like a single thing that stands out. So yeah. And then I guess just to say that probably the best scene in the movie and the one I've watched the most, like, since actually doing this rewatch, like I've watched it on YouTube a bunch, is almost the second last scene or the final scene in the movie, which is when Mooney is like kind of running away from the I don't know if it's CPS or whatever, like the people who are investigating her mother for being like a bad parent, like a neglectful parent or whatever. She runs away from there, goes to her friend Jancy, and is basically just standing outside the room. And you get this like close up of her face as she's like breaking down, crying, like talking about how like she's just incredibly worried about like what's gonna happen, and she doesn't think she's gonna see her friend ever again, and she's just really sad. And just seeing this kid cry is like heartbreaking. Yeah, it's the highlight of the movie. Really, really good acting, really good directing as well. Fantastic scene, fantastic movie. But that was the Florida Project and my rambles about it. Next up, we have The Mitchells versus the Machines from 2021. So this is a movie, an hour and 54 minutes long, and I watched it on the 13th of April. So again, like the Florida Project, this is the friend that I was watching with, Adriana. This is her second favorite movie, I think. My First Summer was her like third favorite one, so this is the second one. Now, if you haven't seen this movie, the basic plot is that there's kind of 2 storylines going on. One is that you're following this family, the Mitchells, who are taking a road trip to take their daughter to university. And then you have another storyline of subs like also happening at the same time of AI kind of developing and becoming like evil and taking over the world and all that. These two kind of storylines are clashing and they interact and blah blah blah, whatever, big catastrophe, big family moments, so on and so forth. And that's the movie. And this is a really, really good movie. I would give this a 4 out of 5. Now, the main appeal of this movie is absolutely the family dynamic. I guess just skipping. I know, again, I'm going to be completely muddled in this section of this digest, but there's the best scenes in this movie. All the scenes where the dad, I wish I remembered any of these names, but I don't. But the dad, you see him right here, is basically thinking about his daughter when she was younger. Like, there's a few scenes you get it. Like, it's one when he's like watching VCR or like videos or whatever of her when she was younger, and like basically happy childhood memories of her. There's like other moments, I think, where it's like a flashback and you're seeing certain things they've experienced in the past. I don't know. Basically, it's all those scenes are like really, really emotionally impactful because you're seeing like how much this dad like misses the girl that he used to like have such a strong connection with and has kind of grown apart from as she's gotten older. And it's like so sad and like also so cute to just see those like memories and all that. So that's like my favorite stuff in this movie. I don't quite know how to say this, but like what I'm trying to say is that the credits of this movie, I have never cried so much as like I've never cried so much out of nowhere, is probably the best way to say it, from watching the end credits of this movie, which is that basically they're going on this long journey and everything, and they get to the destination, which is the school, and the daughter gets dropped off, and she like goes her own way, and they have like this cute parting moment or whatever. And at the end of the movie, the car is like driving. I think maybe all the families there, I don't remember, but they're basically driving. And then you cut to the credits and you see the picture of the Mitchell's family and they're all like happily like taking a family group photo. And then like the credits transition with this great music and everything to the real like family, which is like I think it's like the director's family, and it's like the inspired, like the movie's inspired by the real Mitchells or something. And it's like this actual real picture of them. And as the credits go through, it's like a bunch of the cast and crew and all that. And it's like their families and pictures of them. And I'm like, oh my God, families like so important. And yeah, no movie has I went into this cynical a little bit at the beginning where I'm like, okay, they're going to try and make me care about this family. Like, as you know, family's great and all, but you know, I'm not going to get emotional about it. And there I am at the end of the movie crying about this family and not being able to say anything to the person I'm watching with because I'm like, oh my God, I'm like, Carly, give me a minute. I need to like settle down from this amazing credit sequence where we're seeing the importance of family. So yeah, basically the family in this movie is great. All the stuff with the dad and the daughter, great. The best scene in this movie, actually, I guess besides those like, it's all everything's great, okay? Everything to do with the daughter and the dad are fantastic. The scene I'm thinking of, which is the best scene in this movie, is the is a callback to this scene here. It's so confusing. I wish I like had a proper structured thing for this. The dad, he's watching old VCRs with the daughter. They're dancing to a particular song and they're like doing a performance for the camera. And that's the thing on the screen here. Okay. Later on, the climax of the movie, the dad and the daughter are fighting the AI together. They got on there like they're like flying in the sky somehow. I don't know if they're on like bots or something. I don't know what they're doing, but they're flying in the sky. And the same music plays from this scene, which is a callback to when they were really happy when she was younger, and now they're happy again when she's older, like going to college, and they're dancing to the song, beating the AI in the sky. And I'm like, I'm invested. I love it. So emotional, so great, fantastic climax to the action in this movie. I teared up watching that bit as well. Good stuff. Okay, let me just get back to my notes after that big incoherent ramble. What is there? And okay, one interesting thing about this movie is the dad's character. I feel like the dad is just every note that I've got on this, but excuse me. What's interesting about him is that he is depicted as a flawed father, like inherently. It's not like, oh, he's trying his best and he's like, don't worry, like his heart is like where it's at and he's actually got a heart of gold. Like he actually is flawed. He's incredibly selfish. Well, not incredibly. He is selfish at the beginning where because he wants his relationship with his daughter to be the way that he wants it and to be as good as he remembers, he kind of forces the daughter to skip out on like these small like moving in things and stuff that she was looking forward to, like, oh, I'm gonna go and spend time with my friends and decorate my dorm. She misses out on all that because the dad like cancels her tickets and forces her to go on like the trip. And it's like stuff like that. And also just the fact that like he like doesn't really care, like he doesn't see her like profession of like going or like her like dream of making movies and stuff. He doesn't really pay attention to it, and he's more interested in his hobbies. And it's like he's a very like kind of selfish person at the beginning of this movie. And it's interesting. I feel like you rarely see movies like that where it's like the dad is like unironically like needs to become a better person. It's not like he was always just this good person who had his heart in the right place. It's like he needed to like understand that like his daughter is different now, and it's like I don't know, he needs to kind of rebuild the relationship rather than like trying to claw back at what he once had, you know. I don't know, it's just interesting. It's an interesting character. What else is there to say? I also like the art style of this movie. One thing that this does, which also Ms. Marvel did, which is really cool, was like non-diegetic visuals, where it's like there'll be little like effects and love hearts and stuff that the characters can't see in the world, but we get to see it, and it's like kind of cool. I like that. But yeah, that's my overall thoughts on this movie. A bit of a mess, but I liked it a lot. Now, my favorite scenes, we've already talked about the dad watching the tapes of the girl, very descriptively real and grounded, like watching the childhood tapes. The music's really good, especially for the scene where he's like doing the flashback tape stuff. And the fight scene with the dad-daughter, already talked about that. God, I'm freaking out in the notes. I said just the goofy singing by the dad. He's having so much fun, and it's a callback to the first song dance in the VCR from the beginning of the movie. It actually makes me tear up. So I was really freaking out. The bit at the end with the dad crying, seeing the daughter. Oh yeah, there's like this thing of like when the dad gave up his dream of like building this house that he wanted to build from scratch as like a you know, a hunter-gatherer man who will build his own house and all that. And he gave it up for the sake of his like family or something. Like he wanted, maybe I don't remember exactly the details. It's been a while since I watched this, but the gist of it is that he gave up that dream to pursue the dream of like becoming a father or whatever. And doing that, he like had this little thing that he made, like a little, what was it? What did I write in my notes? Like a little deer or a little moose, yeah. And he's like always just wanted to give it to his daughter, I think. I wish I remembered the details enough. But basically the point of this really good scene at the end is that the daughter kind of surprises him by showing that she had that little thing, that the little moose that he made her. And he like the camera's like on him and he's like crying, and it's like, oh, this is like really, really cute. And then after that touching moment and everything, the dad gets in the car and he like sucks in his chest and he like turns away, and he knows like at this moment, like if he doesn't leave now, like he's never going to be able to leave, and it's going to ruin the moment. Like they had this great happy moment. He has to leave now. And it's like he's, you know, he's learned his lesson, you know, you need to give him space. You need to like, you know, just cherish what you have and just move on with life. And it's unbelievably cute. Yeah. Now, you're probably thinking, man, Ari, you really, really like this movie. Everything you said about this is like glazing this movie and how great it is. I think the only kind of drawback or hesitation why I would give this a 5 out of 5 is that there's like a few things. I guess we'll see here. Number one, it's a tiny thing. This doesn't matter at all, but I just have it in my notes here. I don't like the brother, wherever, he's not even in this, but the brother, I don't like his voice actor. He sounds way too old, way too comedic. I don't like it at all. That's one thing. Another thing the movie does is, I think, hold on like moments a little bit too long. Like there's stuff where it's like there'll be comedy moments or there'll be like a freeze frame or something, and obviously they're like hoping for the audience to laugh in this moment, but it's like a little bit funny what they're showing us, but it's not funny enough to kind of like like pause on it and kind of like hold a bit too long, and I don't know, like the comedy, some of the comedy in this is like actually pretty good. Like I remember there was a scene at the end where the mother, or the robot, the AI is like freaked out by the mother because she's like crazy or whatever. That was funny. But a lot of this, like a lot of the comedy is not really for me. Like I didn't quite like it. So I think maybe the main drawback is probably just the comedy and the mix of tones, I guess, a little bit. But the highs in this are so high that it's like, I would consider giving it a 5 out of 5 regardless. But yeah, what else is there? Oh, this is like a very tiny, it's not really criticism, a tiny thing I noticed, which is that because this is a movie, okay, and I've given a very bad description of what this movie is if you haven't seen the movie for some reason, but the premise of this movie is that this girl like is going to she's going to become a filmmaker, and she's going to college for filmmaking. So throughout this movie, you see a bunch of like videos like that are being played on a screen, and there's like a little bar like showing the progress in the video, and there's like a play pause button, whatever. But every time there's a play button, it's always... Sorry, every time there's an option to pause, like if a video is playing, it always just shows the play button. And it's like a weird, like technical, like why would you do that? Like, it's just like weird, like how did no one pick this up when they were making the film, that like pressing the play button would start the playing, not stop the playing? And it's like a weird, like little disconnect that I have no idea how no one picked it up, but that's the thing. Another thing is that the AI premise of this is like, it's like a little silly. Like it's fine because it's like a kids / like family movie. But it's like, I don't know, like this goofy AI is becoming crazy because humans mistreating it or something. It's a bit weird. It's a bit goofy. Anytime the movie tries to do like commentary on AI and stuff, I'm like, okay, this is like, I'm gonna just pretend this didn't happen. Like I treat it as, I guess, a comedy more so than like any serious critique or anything of technology, but it is what it is. Anyway, that is Mitchell's versus the Machines. I highly recommend this movie. A lot of emotional stuff. Love it. Next up, we have Solos. So this is a TV show, which I assume you've probably never heard of because I had never heard of this before. It's 7 episodes long, and I watched it over the course of like a week or two. I don't really exactly remember where, but roughly on the 14th of April. Now, the premise of this show is that it has 7 basically anthology episodes. Like the episodes, none of them are connected together. Now, spoilers, it turns out they are all connected together very loosely by the final episode that kind of ties it all together very loosely somehow. But the premise is that each episode is basically entirely either a single actor basically that is giving a monologue. That's the general premise. Now there'll be some variations or whatever, but typically it's like this image I have here, for instance. The whole episode is literally just her sitting in this room, sometimes walking around or whatever, literally just giving a speech, talking to the camera. It's really, really good. I give this a 4 out of 5. Now, separate to just to say more along the premise is that it's a sci-fi kind of story. Different stories take place in different like kind of sci-fi worlds. There's like some little, one is about time travel, one is about like a robot that like replaces you, and like there's small elements like that. But it's like it's technically like hard sci-fi, and that the rules of sci-fi are like established or whatever, but it's like very subtle sci-fi where it's not like a key focus. It's not like Black Mirror where it's like, oh, the sci-fi is like the major element or anything. The major element of this is absolutely just the performances and the like the monologues and the story that you get invested in. But there is like a touch of sci-fi in each of these episodes. So that's really good. I like this. It's good to see, like, it was great to see actually another sci-fi series. I feel like I don't watch enough of them, you know? Yeah. So that's the premise. The general thoughts on it, you know, I liked it a lot. But overall, the first thing to say is that this is incredibly unique. I've never seen a show quite like this, where it's like, firstly, anthology, second, like just every performance is like so different, and like I've just never seen one where it's just focusing on a single character. I liked it. I can't believe I've never heard of this as well, because it has like pretty famous actors. Like obviously Morgan Freeman is like the main, like he's the final episode, and he's also the narrator throughout. There's Anthony Mackie, is that his name? Falcon from the Avengers. Is it Anne Hathaway? Am I crazy? Is that her name? I don't know. There's basically big actors in this, so I'm surprised I've just never heard of it, but it is what it is. Incredibly unique. The appeal, I'm just looking through our notes here. The appeal is almost entirely the performances. It's impressive how, yeah, it is also impressive, like how the performances are kind of given. Like sometimes the character will monologue for like a solid like few minutes straight. But I'm like, man, you really did a good job here. I remember especially this episode here, which is my favorite one. And don't worry, I'll give like a rough overview of each one, whatever each episode was. But this one, she like delivered a monologue, like literally she was like crying, she was laughing like throughout the whole monologue. It was like one continuous take for like a few minutes. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, really impressive. What else was there? Oh, another like subtle thing I liked about the show is that the beginning of every episode has like this little opening credits thing where it's like, what would you do if this, and it's like a narrator kind of talking ominously about like, what would you do if this happened to you? And there's little like, almost like, you know, at the beginning of a Marvel movie, there's like the Marvel credits, and inside the credits, there's like flashes to like different scenes from the movies, and it's like going really fast. It's like that at the beginning of this, where it's like, it'll show subtle hints to like the things that the character is going to be monologuing about. Like for instance, in this episode here, this girl ran over like a kid and killed them by accident or whatever. And you never see this in the actual episode because the episode is literally just like focused on, like the camera is focused on her, she's monologuing or whatever. But in the intro, you see like a little like kind of obscured, like hard to tell, and it's like a car, and it's like clearly like a car that ran over something, or there's like police, and they get little hints, and it's like, oh, this is like kind of cool. Especially once you've heard the whole monologue delivered, it's cool to go back and like see, oh, what was this referring to, and like it's neat. So I like that. Now that's my overall kind of thoughts on the show. Really good. Highly recommend this. Now let me just go episode by episode. So episode 1, the premise is that you have, this is the Anthony Mackie one, you have a man that is dying. So a man, like a family man, basically, like he has I think 2 kids and he has a wife and he's dying. So what he does is he buys a robot clone of himself to replace him when he dies. And the episode is basically him like talking to his robot self, and kind of the robot wants to learn more about him, so he's telling the robot more about him, and he's kind of instructing the robot on like what he wants to do when he dies, and how he wants him to interact with his family and all that. And through this, he kind of discovers things about himself, and it's like kind of, it's cute, very cute. I like this episode a lot. Now, the appeal of this episode, again, I'm going to say it for every episode, obviously the performance, really good performance, but second to this is kind of like you're hearing a person, a character, talk about something they're passionate about, which in this case is their family. He's like talking about the small things that he loves that his kids do or his wife does, or the little interactions they have in the morning. And he's basically just talking with extreme passion. And it's just fun, like in real life and in stories and stuff, it's fun to see like characters, I guess, talk about stuff that they're passionate about and like hear the small details that they find interesting. And like, I guess passion is something that we can all relate to. And it's like fun to see other people kind of express their passion. So I think that's like the like monologue passion kind of in this is like the appeal of it. Yeah. My only other note for this episode is that there's a line where he says like the robot is asking him, and he's like, so I'll be on because the guy is like, oh, so I'm always on the phone, you know, I'm always talking, never, like I don't pay enough attention to things because I'm always on the phone. And the robot's like, so I'll be on the phone too much, got it. And then he's like, no, and he like decides that like he doesn't want the robot to be exactly the same person as him. He doesn't want the robot that replaces him to be better than him. It's interesting, you know, cool detail. Then we have episode 2. So the premise of this one is that it's taking place on this tiny little, like, I would say spaceship, but it's like, that probably brings big images into your mind, but it's basically like this tiny little room, which is a spaceship with a chair, and that's it. And it's an old lady basically talking to an AI voice who's probing her about like, oh, tell us about your life, whatever. She's going on some expedition to space. And she's basically just reflecting on her long, sad life. Now, immediately, I just need to say that this is the first one where it's like, you get this subtle connection between the characters, which is that in the previous episode with the dad and the robot replacement, a lot of that episode he's talking about his kids and stuff, and talking about how, oh, I really hope for my kids to have great futures and everything. And toward the like middle or maybe latter half of this episode, you realize that the old lady in this episode was the dad's kid from last episode. And it's like, it adds this extra dimension of just how sad it is that like the daughter that he was so excited for, to like, not excited, but so hopeful for her future, just led a life that was so sad. And she feels eventually like her big depressing thing is that by the end of life, like she regrets she never like reached out to this person that clearly would have been interested in her, and or maybe might have been interested in her. I don't know if it was very clear or not. And she kind of feels like she's become invisible, like she has no one around her, she's lonely. And it's so sad to see that kid who had like who the dad just wished so much for just never had that happy life that he wanted. It's really sad. So that was cool. The cool little connection, I guess, from that to this. Like the dad died, the mum, you learned that the mum died 6 months after the dad did. The robot dad wasn't accepted. They got taken away from the dad, and they had to like grow up in London around, or like England around the grandma. Like it was a really sad life, I guess. Yeah. But basically that's all I have to say. It was really incredibly depressing to hear this old lady monologue about how sad her life is. So yeah, that's episode 2. Episode 3 is my favorite episode, which is, and there isn't, like, I'm not going to be able to express, I guess, why it is, but it's purely just the performance and the, like I was saying, there's like scenes in this where she's like, let me describe the premise first. Okay. A woman is wearing angel wings alone in a room, and she's monologuing about the time she tried to seduce her neighbor, but accidentally ended up killing his kid instead. And she's just like I said, the appeal is her crying and like laughing, and her like passionate delivery, her like comedic like delivery as well. Just like, it's like the full expression of like human emotion on full display, or whatever they say, you know? Yeah, I just like this one a lot. It's also incredibly engaging because you don't quite know where it's going at the beginning. Like, is it going to be like, oh, she's at a party and she got too drunk and she like embarrassed herself or something? Like, is it going to be something more? Like, what's happening? And then by the end, you're trying to piece together where it's going. In the end, you find out like she killed the kid. It's like, damn. Oh, and you also learn like, Okay, there's a really, again, I'm just remembering like little details about this. I have like a quote here. She says like, basically she talks about how she had a miscarriage, and the way she delivers it is like, and the way the line's written and how it's delivered is really fantastic. She's like, she basically is talking about how like she'd been searching for something her whole life to have like this meaning, or like a piece of her that had been missing, and she'd looking for it. And then when she has the miscarriage, she says, the missing piece I'd been looking for, dead in my underwear. And it's like her delivery, like it's, I can't do it justice. It's great. That's all I can say. Great line, great delivery. We love it. Yeah. That's episode 3. Episode 4, a lady invents time travel and argues with her future self concerning her dying mother. So the idea here is that you've got like the character we're following. This is Anne Hathaway. Was that who it was? I hope it is. It's not like some other actor, but she's in her present. She then like has a computer that like lets her interact with her future self. And then later on, she like gets to interact with her past self. And it's like these three like versions of the same character, like talking to each other or whatever. Yeah, so it's like slightly different than the other episodes because it's like multiple different characters, all just played by the same actor, kind of interacting. Well, they're all the same character, I guess, but the same character in different points in time. You get the point. It's a bit different than the other ones, which I like this one a lot as well. I guess I like all these episodes a lot. But yeah, the interesting thing the episode does is that this woman has 2 decisions. She either has, basically her mother is dying, and she has 2 opportunities. She either stays with her mother and then regrets like missing out on not living her own like kind of life, her successful life, like inventing time travel and becoming this scientist in the future. She either regrets this by spending time with her mother, or she becomes that successful like scientist and like has a good successful life and creates a lot of happy memories, but always regrets not being there to spend time with her mother. And it's like she has 2 decisions, and obviously at the end, well, not obviously, but at the end she like makes another decision, which is to kind of erase herself and her future self for the sake of her past self, discovering time travel and trying to find a way to like save her mother. So it's like in the end she's like, we're gonna do the best of all worlds. We're gonna sacrifice ourselves for both our past selves and our mother's sake, and blah blah blah. It's like a cute like little thing. Good episode. Now the most kind of interesting thing about this series and this episode is how many like references this makes to like other IP. Like in this episode has a Doctor Who reference about, I think it's about Jodie Whittaker basically. Like, oh my God, the Doctor's a female now or something like that. Or a woman. I don't know why I say female, but yeah. There's like Disney is referencing this, Endgame, Terminator, Doctor Who, Jodie Whittaker specifically. Like there's a bunch of stuff. And I'm like, can they just like say these things? Like, don't you need like some permission or something to say this in a show? I have no idea, but that was kind of crazy. Anyway, that's episode 4. Now, episode 5, a woman has lived alone in a smart home for 20 years after a pandemic with an AI who keeps encouraging her to go outside. So this was a very different kind of episode as well. The main kind of appeal of this episode is whether the outside is actually safe or not. And I don't think you ever really get an answer, which is kind of cool. Because the idea is that either there's like robots on the outside who are actually trying to harvest like humanity or something, and this woman is like true, like she's actually correct in fighting this AI and not listening to it, who's trying to encourage her to go outside, and she's like nice and happy in here. Or is it actually true that it is safe to go outside and the whole world has like kind of moved on from this pandemic and you can actually go outside, and this woman is kind of like wasting her life away because of her own paranoia, and you never really find out, but it's like kind of cool. It's like engaging. It's like, oh, you're like, what's happening? You know, what are the little clues that hint toward either direction? The eventual conclusion, I think, was that the AIs decide, or the company that is running the AI says that if by a certain date the AI can't convince this person to go outside, then it's not worth having them in society anymore anyway, because they're just going to be too paranoid, and there's not going to be there's not going to be a benefit to forcing them outside because like they're a waste on society anyway. Which is interesting, you know, cool. Sci-fi, I guess, is kind of the main appeal of this, as alongside obviously the good performance. So yeah, that's episode 5. Now, episode 6 is the most different of all of them, and almost certainly it is my least favorite. But it's basically a pregnant woman is alone by herself in this little house when it's like really bad weather outside, like storming, snowing, like she can't go anywhere. Basically, she's isolated during a blizzard, and she's pregnant, and she goes into labor, and she gives birth to a son who is born, obviously gives birth, and then rapidly ages. Like is aging years in like minutes or whatever. So it's like, you know, it's very sci-fi. This is probably the most, like, this feels like a horror episode for the majority of it. So that's kind of the main appeal of it, I think. It's also got the least dialogue, at least for the first like half, where it's just like her freaking out, like not knowing what to do. Yeah, I honestly don't have too much to say about this. Like, it was a good performance, sci-fi-ish, a bit scary. The kid performance wasn't that good. The whole like her relationship with the kid wasn't that interesting. Like him growing up fast felt like weird. I'm like, are we meant to be attached to this like 18-year-old kid now? Oh, I don't know if you ever got to 18, but like we meant to feel attached to this like, kid. It feels like he just grew up and came out of nowhere, you know? The main, like I have one note on this, which is that the woman like delivers a a very like emotional kind of story, and it like struck me a little bit, like the imagery at least of, she talks about being, herself was like born, when she was born she was left in a dumpster, and it's just so sad, and the way she like delivers it is really great. And she says like when she was a baby, basically she's telling the son about like herself, but she's not saying it's herself. She says when she was a baby, some strangers found her in a dumpster. She'd been there the whole day, and it even made the news. A little black baby girl found in a dumpster all alone. So sad. And obviously I can't do the delivery justice, but it was good delivery. Anyway, then we have episode 7, which is an old man lives as a solo. That's what they call the people in this place, basically, which is a home, in a home for Alzheimer's patients. So basically, the Alzheimer's patients living in this place are called solos. And oh my god, we're going to tie it into everything. So this man, he gets a visit from a younger guy whose mother's memories were stolen by the Alzheimer's patient. So this is what you find out, the big connection between all of these Solos episodes is that all of the memories of these people in these episodes giving monologues was stolen by this old man, the Alzheimer's patient, probably when he was younger. And one of the other people's memories he stole was the young person who's visiting him now, that person's mother. And he's kind of there to get answers and kind of like, why did you do this? Like, why would you steal my mother's memories? That's the main point. Now, the appeal of this is, again, surprise, surprise, it's the acting. Morgan Freeman, who knew? He's a good actor. I honestly don't think I've seen him in anything except for, I don't remember what it was, but was it Bruce Almighty, Evan Almighty, both of them? I don't, it was in one of those. I think that's the main thing I've seen him in. Wait, no, he's also in, is he in Batman? Am I crazy? Basically, I've never seen him like as a main character in anything, and he was the main character in this. Really, really good acting. There's a scene where he basically is a person with Alzheimer's, and there's a scene where he gets his memories back because of like technology. The guy like puts a thing on him, and he like slowly gets his memories back, like they're charging up basically. And you see the switch, like not the switch like instant switch, but like a gradual, like it's just turning from one state to another of like a person with Alzheimer's to a person who is like getting to relive all of their experiences and memories of the past, and it's like really, really good acting. And like seeing him go from like this person who's really quite unaware of what's happening around him to having complete lucidity and like awareness of everything. It's really, really good acting. Yeah. Beyond that, I don't quite really know what to say. Good episode. So that's Solos. I'm sure you can tell the appeal of this was the acting. Go watch it if you are interested in performances and stuff. I really like this show. All right, next up, we have a rewatch of The Lighthouse. This is a movie. It's an hour and 50 minutes long, and I watched it on the 20th of April. And for this, I truly don't have much to say. It's as good as I remember. The main appeal of this is the aesthetic. I think aesthetic is everything when it comes to this movie. You can tell from this like scene here. It's black and white, really cool lighting, great performances and all that. The aesthetic of like, even just like the what do you call it, audio aesthetic, like the accents that they use in this, like when they're speaking, the way everything is so dirty and stuff, just the imagery of the lighthouse, the imagery of the waves, these weird like kind of the images of like the Prometheus and mermaids, and it's just like visually a strikingly beautiful movie with a very coherent and like unique tone that I like. It's great. But to be honest, I don't really have much to say much beyond this. I didn't write any specific notes on characters and stuff, which is a shame. I probably should have, but if you're interested, I remember like a few years ago with Kyle back in 2023 on Secondary ENT, I'll probably link it in the description if I remember, we did a Lighthouse discussion. I probably talked during that much more than I ever will ever again. And then our recording was, we forgot to record, or we had like an issue where I don't know what happened, but we forgot to record or something. So we had to then record it again. It was like much shorter, whatever. If you're interested, go check out that discussion. I have much more to say than I will here. But obviously, Lighthouse, 5 out of 5. Next up, we have You Can Live Forever, which is a movie from 2022. It's an hour and 36 minutes long, and I watched it on the 21st of April. So, the premise for this movie, because I'm sure you've never heard of this, because it's a very unknown movie. This was also, like I said, if you've been watching this whole digest, this was my friend Adriana's favorite movie. So, the premise of this is that a girl's dad dies and her mother can't handle things, so she then sends her daughter to live with her aunt and uncle who are Jehovah's Witnesses. And while attending the meetings, like the Jehovah's Witnesses meetings, this girl meets another girl called Marika, and they fall in love. So it's a love story, okay, but with a backdrop of Jehovah's Witnesses. Not even a backdrop, a very prominent focusing of Jehovah's Witnesses kind of society. I don't quite know the best way to put it, but you get the point. A love story with religion involved. But my overall thoughts on this is that it was a very good movie. I'd give this a 4 out of 5. I enjoyed the movie a lot. I'd say it feels very indie, or independent, I guess is a better way. Indie feeling movie, basically, like a low budget kind of movie where there's very few characters, very few settings, but There's really great performances. Very like it just looks really good. Like directing wise, it's really well shot and all that. Um, the music is fantastic, especially there's like this one main theme that is like played throughout it, and it like plays right at the end of the movie as well. It's really good, the music of this, or that particular theme especially. The I guess another kind of another appeal of this movie is that you're constantly, it's like the subversive nature of it, I think, which is that you're constantly waiting for this relationship to blow up, for like people to find out, because obviously this like same-sex like relationship is not allowed in the Jehovah's Witnesses, right? And you're constantly waiting, like, when is it going to happen? When are people going to find out? When are they going to get separated? When is Jamie going to have to get sent away? And like, when is all this going to happen? And the interesting thing is that it never quite does. The end of the movie is like the conclusion to the storyline is that Marika, who's the girl that the Jehovah's Witnesses like kind of really, really believes in it, like the girl in the relationship who really believes in Jehovah's Witnesses, she's the one to end the relationship because she's so committed to her religion, and she obviously loves Jamie, but she thinks that like to her her mortal life is like insignificant next to the life that she will have in the afterlife, and because of that she's like, it's okay, I'll like get married to someone else now, but we'll be together in the afterlife, because I don't want to, like, if we like get together now, then none of us are going to go to the afterlife or whatever. I think it's like something like that, but you get the point, which is that it's subversive in that you never really get that big blow up where it's like other people are showing up and breaking them apart. It's like Marika kind of, in a very sad decision, forces them apart because of her own like religion. It's really sad. But yeah, I think the main two appeals of this are kind of the visual direction, like the subversive nature. Now, there's two particular scenes in this movie that I think are really, really good. One of them has to do with the kind of the way that the subversion is revealed, which is that you're going through this entire movie. No, let's just forget the entire movie. Like, there's a scene at the end where you get the reveal that Marika is going to be, she's engaged, and you hear it from her dad, who's like the leader of the Jehovah's Witnesses like gatherings that they do. And he's like, oh, I have a great news to announce. My daughter is getting married. And this is after basically Jamie and Marika had just been outed as like being a couple or whatever. So it's like, okay, when you're watching this, you're like, God damn it. The dad has like has found out about this, and he's like arranged a marriage, and she's going to get married to a guy. And it's like the dad is like forcing this apart. But what you really find out is that the scene afterward, she's leaving her house and she's clearly going to go see Marika. And on her journey to Marika's house, like she interacts with, like you see a bunch of people. You see Jamie's aunt, who looks at her like really sad, and like she's looking at her like, oh, I feel bad. Then you walk into Marika's house, and her daughter, not her daughter, Jesus, her older sister is kind of looking at Jamie like really sad and concerned as well. And you walk in, the dad is like looking sad and nervous and like uncertain as well. And you're like, what's going on here? Like, this is like, there's something wrong. And it's like, when you're watching the scene, it's really engaging because it's like, well, something is going wrong here. But in retrospect, when you learn that they're all kind of like, they're all just saddened by the situation, because they all like are kind of committed to this religion where they believe that like Marika has to, they have to believe that the decision Marika made is the right one to kind of get married to a guy. But they all know that they all just want Marika and Jamie to be happy, but they can't do anything about it because it like goes against the religion. And it's like, it's these sad faces that is the most they can kind of express in this sad situation, just to show that they just wish that these two could be happy, but they can't have them be happy because of like the religion they exist in. It's like, it's really sad. Yeah, really, really good scene. Obviously the music they play is just as good, but it is what it is. I can't sing the music here. The other scene that I think is really good is the scene like right towards the end of the movie, which is the image I chose for my thing here, which is when Jamie is like heading back to her, like to live with her mother, I think that's where she's going. And she has a scene where she's like driving to the airport, the boat, wherever she's going to leave. She's driving there with her aunt, and her are just in the car alone. And she has like this little chat with her aunt about like how she's feeling about everything. And the one thing she says to her aunt at the end, which is, before I say it, it's like a callback to the idea that like in Jehovah's Witnesses, at least in this movie, and I assume in real life, if someone leaves the faith, then you have to pretend as though they're dead. Like, you can't just like say like, oh, they're out there living their life. You just have to pretend that they don't exist anymore, that they died basically. And it's really sad. And Jamie says to her aunt, you're not going to pretend that I'm dead, are you? She's like really sad about it, obviously. And the devastating thing, to me at least, and the really good acting on the aunt's part, is that she gives a non-answer basically. She looks at her, she like has this like expression of like, I wish I could say something, but I can't. And she says, I love you no matter what. And it's like it's like half reassuring of like, yeah, you know, your aunt's gonna love you, but at the same time, it's half like just incredibly sad because it's like she didn't say that she's not going to do it. Like she probably will have to go back and now pretend that you don't like pretend that you're dead, but you know that she's gonna love you, but she can't say it. It's like it's tragic. It's sad. Really, really good scene. Really good performance. But yeah, it's just my favorite scenes. Now, miscellaneous note wise, we've got I briefly mentioned her, but Marika's sister is a really fantastic actor, at least for this position here, which is that I don't believe you ever like find out explicitly, but or they don't never say it explicitly, but very clearly, her older sister, like Marika's older sister, is acting very mother-like. Like she kind of, if you didn't tell me that she wasn't her mother, like I would probably believe it, if not for the fact that she like looks a bit too young, I guess, to be Marika's mother. But she's like doing the chores, she's like the way she dresses, like all this like very much feels like a motherly kind of figure, and it's very clear that she's acting much more mother-like because she's trying to replace the mother, like the void in the family dynamic that is the mother, and she probably misses the mother the most because she knew her the most, like more so that compared to Marika and stuff. And you find out later, like there is another scene where I think it's like a bathtub scene or something where Marika's in the bath and her sister walks in and they start talking about their mum, and you find out that like I think more explicitly you find out here that the Marika's sister actually does care a lot about them, like does actually think about them, I guess, more so. Not, she doesn't necessarily say she cares about her that much, but the reveal is that basically they both do miss her, like even the sister misses her. And the scene basically ends with Marika saying that she feels like she can't talk to anyone about the mum because you have to pretend that she's dead, obviously. And her sister replies, basically affirming that she can talk to her by saying that just don't ask dad. Like the implication is, come talk to me. Like we can talk about the mum. Just don't tell dad because obviously dad can't handle it, or he doesn't want that. But I can do it because, you know, I understand what you're going through. Really cute scene, really good performance. Like that character a lot. There's also a character called Nate in this, which is a guy who is Jamie's friend. I like him a lot. He's very, I don't know what to say. He's like a very comforting presence. Whenever he's around, he's always there to listen to Jamie. He like buys her a birthday cake or something. It's very cute relationship. There's one line that I wrote down, which I thought was really cool, which is that he asked like a really, like, I think it was like a question which other people wouldn't ask. And then Jamie says like, oh, you know, people don't usually ask that because they're like scared to sound stupid. And he's like, I will never be afraid to sound stupid. I'm like, oh, this is so cute. You know, we love people like that who ask dumb questions and aren't afraid to come across as dumb. We love him. So we love old Nate here. That was like a very Kyle thing to say. Oh my goodness, I can't believe I said that. We love Nate. What else is there? There's like also a few descriptively real elements, like stuff that feels like it's very grounded in reality. And like I'm even like my kind of experience is similar to this, which is one of them is the auntie and uncle kind of household and dynamic, and it's very loving, but it's also very distant. Like they're not very close to Jamie. They don't like the dinner table scenes they have is like very quiet and formal, but they clearly like her and love her and stuff. And their house is like, because they're like kind of, they're very well put together, and their house is tidy and like very intricate, and like it's very very descriptive of real kind of household where it's like you're not quite with people who are your parents, you're living with like people who are like one removed from your parents, who are like your aunt and uncle, and it's like a little different, a little not quite as like intimate, but it still is intimate. It's like, it's interesting. I like that dynamic kind of there. There's also a very small, there's my other like descriptive real element, which is that there's a scene where I think it's Jamie, she's like upset that Marika like kissed her and then was like cold to her the next day. And because she's upset, she like looks at like the meteorite rock that's on her like bedside table, I think, that was given to her by Marika, and she like just basically just knocks it off because it's like the representation of like who the person that she hates in this moment. She's like throws like, why do you ignore me, bro? She like knocks it off. What, she doesn't say why do you ignore me, but in her mind it's obviously what's going on, and it's great, descriptively real. Now, just keep in mind, it might be the complete other opposite direction, which is like the other character doing it. I don't remember, but it was good, whatever it was, okay? And I have a note on it, so I thought I'd say that. Okay. What else is there? One other final descriptively real element, which is only going to be applicable to me, which is that there's a scene in this where it's a very unpleasant drive where you have like the two girls, Jamie and Marika, and you have like their two like arranged like boyfriends or whatever, which are two guys that are just basically driving or like in the back of the car, whatever. Like they're all in the car together and they're driving away. And to me, this very much felt like, it's like when you're forced to like hang out with people because of like some shared heritage, which to me is like, I went to Armenian school when I was younger, and there were like people there who were like, I was kind of forced to be their friend because we were both Armenian, and it's like, oh, these are like, they're like friends, like they're nice people and I'm friends with them or whatever, but my real friends were like the friends that I chose to make at school, not like these people who I was kind of like forced to congregate with because of our shared heritage. It was kind of like the same in this car thing, where it's like, oh, you know, their parents are kind of forcing them to be together because they're all Jehovah's Witnesses or whatever, you know. I'm like, oh, I don't like this. But yeah, that's the descriptive real elements, and that's all I really have to say about You Can Live Forever. I like this a lot. I do recommend this movie quite a bit. But yeah. Next up, we have Black Mirror Season 7. So this is a TV show. I'm sure you've heard of it. It's 6 episodes long, and I watched it roughly on the 23rd of April. I think it was across like 2 days or something like that. But yeah. Overall, this is a fantastic season. One of the best seasons of Black Mirror. Easily a 5 out of 5. But let's just go episode by episode, okay? So, because this is obviously an anthology series, so every episode is quite distinct. So, episode 1. The premise of this episode was that a wife like gets into like a car accident or something. Like, I don't know if it's a car accident. She gets something happens to her brain. She gets like a brain injury or something. And to fix it, her husband like signs her up for a subscription plan where there's like an electronic part of her brain that is like implanted by this company, and shenanigans ensue, as like predictable as you can imagine. Like, there's a subscription, so if you don't pay the fee, what happens? If you go out of service for the range of the wireless connection, what happens? Like, all this stuff basically happens, and they have to deal with it. At the same time, the husband is kind of, they're like they're not low income, but they're kind of like struggling to make the subscription price the whole time, and the subscription price keeps increasing. So the husband like goes, and the husband loses his job, and progressively he like goes to this like live streaming website where they kind of pay you money to do radical things, like pull your teeth out and things like that. So that's like another storyline that's going on in parallel. This episode is easily the worst of the season. And when I saw it, I was like, oh no, are we going to do a season like this where it's all going to be like bad meta commentary about like society and corporations and all that? Like, this was very similar to last season's first episode, which was like the one about Netflix and like streaming contracts and services. And that was a terrible episode. This one wasn't quite as bad. Like, I still definitely enjoyed this. Like, I'd give it like a 3 out of 5, maybe a 4 out of 5. Like, it was still very engaging. But the issue with this is that it's like it's built on a very faulty premise, which is that the husband who accepts this like technology to be put in the wife's brain, we're meant to feel sympathy for him throughout the film, throughout the episode, because it's like, oh, this corporation is like taking advantage of this person who like has no choice but to blah blah whatever. But the thing is, this guy like readily accepts this like this implanted like thing in her brain without like questioning anything. Like, he didn't ask like what happens if the servers go down, or like what happens if the subscription can't be paid, what happens if you go out of like the service range, and like he doesn't ask any of these questions and just accepts it like on face value. And I'm like it makes me lose a lot of sympathy for him, which is kind of the whole appeal of this movie. How do I keep calling it a movie? I guess Black Mirror episodes are basically movies, okay? But I kind of lose a lot of the sympathy here. Yeah, so that was a little frustrating. The episode also, like, it definitely focuses, it's like a funny kind of episode as well, where like the punchline is like they go to the company, then they're like, oh, we can't afford our subscription price, can you decrease the price? Or like, oh, my wife, like, she isn't sleeping enough, like, can you make her like wake up a little earlier or something? I mean, sorry, she's sleeping like too much, can you make her wake up earlier? And then the punchline is always like, oh, actually there's a better plan for that, you know, you can buy this plan, which is only $200 instead of $100, and you get like less sleeping hours or something like that. And it's like, oh, the joke is that the corporation's like trying to like be as greedy as possible. I'm like, god damn it, I just don't find this funny. But yeah, it also is it's just a very simple surface level engagement with the idea of like companies controlling your brain. Like, it's fine. Like, there's nothing, it doesn't say anything revolutionary. It doesn't say anything that you could possibly like not expect within like 1 minute of hearing the premise of this. The most interesting thing I think the episode does is that at some point she goes to this like half like advertisement based plan with like subsidized by advertisements, where the company would take over her brain for a little bit and would like make her like speak advertisements to people, like, which are context sensitive. So for instance, if someone's like, oh, you know, we're out of shampoo or whatever, she'll like talk to them and be like, oh, shampoo, you should consider this brand over here, which has like a really good thing. And she says like a slogan for that company or whatever. I'm like, oh, that's like kind of cool. And they interact with, like, it's not a bad episode, okay? Like, they also interact with this advertising idea in an interesting way, because she's a teacher, and obviously she can't be just like forcing these like ads onto the students, so she can't really work as a teacher anymore because of that. And because of that, she has to like kind of pay the money that is required for the actual extra paid plan, because she can't have the advertisements as a teacher. And it's like, oh, it's like really interesting, you know? Interesting elements of this episode. But overall, I don't know what to say. It's engaging, kind of fun sci-fi. A little hard to believe is, I guess, the kind of the premise that it's built on, but it was perfectly fine. 3 out of 5, I'll give it. Then we have episode 2. So the description I wrote here is: a woman is seemingly being gaslit by everyone around her after an old high school acquaintance comes back into her life. So this is interesting, and I guess the context I didn't write is that she is a food designer or whatever. Like, she designs the flavors and like different textures or whatever of food. Like, she works at a company that does that basically. And her new friend like is her old friend from high school, not really friend, like an old acquaintance who like used to be in her same grade at high school, like shows up and gets a job that is like close to her job, and eventually kind of like is slowly becomes more appreciated than she is, and like people start to like there's like a divide between them, and eventually she like replaces her life almost. It's like a whole like gaslighting, like you're throughout this episode basically you're constantly on the edge of your seat, like trying to think like what is happening, like why is it that this, I guess I've given a very poor description here. Like what's an example of like the gaslighting? There'll be like I remember the most memorable thing is, I guess, where there's a scene where the girl, the acquaintance from school, goes to the fridge, drinks someone's, like from the company, someone else's coffee, or like not coffee, some like milk or something, drinks it, gulps it up, puts it down. This is all in the face of like our main character, and she knows that she's like not meant to drink this person's milk because it has their name on it or whatever, and they're gonna get really pissed when they learn that you drank her milk. And then when everyone shows up and sees the milk carton there, like on the bench, her acquaintance says that it was the main character, but we obviously know that it wasn't the main character, but everyone like believes that it's they basically believe the gaslighting that this woman is doing. And it's like, why are they believing the gaslighting? What's going on? And there's stuff like this throughout the entire episode, basically, and it becomes more and more extreme. So you get the examples like this. And even in this one, they check the CCTV footage, and it literally shows the footage is of the girl, the main character, drinking the milk. It's like, well, what's going on? Is she like crazy? Did the woman like manipulate the CCTV footage somehow? Like, what's going on? And at the end of the episode, you find out that it's a very hard sci-fi, and it's actually her acquaintance from school has this like technology she's developed where she can basically switch out whatever universe she's in the infinite multiverse to be whatever reality she wants it to be. And the way she shapes reality is to basically, the reason she shapes reality is because this main character girl, when she was in high school, she didn't do anything to stop this rumor going around that that this girl was like sleeping with the one of the teachers or something. So it's like she wanted to gaslight her because it felt like from her perspective when she was a kid, everyone was like believing this rumor that wasn't true that people were spreading around, and she felt gaslit herself or whatever. Not gaslit, but you know what I mean. It's like a revenge kind of storyline. This is a fantastic episode. This is easily like a 5 out of 5. I love this. Now, let me see what I actually wrote about this. I guess absolutely fantastic, intriguing mystery thriller episode. The appeal is like what's happening. Like, oh, there's a scene where the main girl is like basically like sternly talking to someone, like talking to her acquaintance from high school at public, like at work, and the acquaintance is like, please don't raise your voice at me, and she's like kind of scared him, right? Like she's like, why'd you raise your voice at me? And clearly we know that she didn't raise her voice, but then like her boss is also there and it's like, yeah, you don't need to raise your voice. I'm like, what? She literally didn't raise her voice. What is going on here? And it's like you get into the frustrated mindset of the character as well. It's really good. There's a really chilling, like chill-inducing scene where when she's getting really like kind of cautious about what's going on here and she's really questioning like her sanity and everything, she calls basically one of her high school friends to see like, oh, you know, did you like see this girl? Like, when's the last time you saw her, whatever? And her husband picks up the phone, and you find out that girl from school has died. Like her acquaintance, not her acquaintance, like an old friend of hers from school who recently ran into the acquaintance, like killed herself or something. And in her final days, she was like kind of talking crazy and wasn't making much sense and everything. And it's like, I'm like, oh my God, like, is she going to be next? What did this acquaintance from school do to her? It's really good. Really, like, it's a thriller, like in the true sense of the word. It's like, man, I'm really like, oh my God, what's happening here? So that was good. What else is there? It's also like when you find out the answer to the mystery at the end of the episode, it is kind of cool to go back and like you do see little things where it's like hinted throughout. One of them was where the first scene where you see the acquaintance show up is like a taste testing thing, and all the people are like testing a particular chocolate, and they all try it for the first time and they're like, oh, that's like gross, I don't like this at all. And then the acquaintance comes in, tries it, she says, oh, this is a really nice chocolate, I like this chocolate a lot, clearly saying it into the device. And then she's like, you guys should try it again. And they all tried again, and they all like changed their mind completely. Like, oh man, actually, now that I think about it, it actually is really good. And it's like, there's little hints like this that she's like warping reality using like the holding the little thing to her mouth. And it's like, oh, this is like really cool. So yeah, good sci-fi, good episode, really great episode. The interesting thing, again, like not again, but kind of tied into what I was saying before, is that I wrote this as in my notes, is it has an awesome, like poetic kind of answer at the end of this episode, which is that, not answer, but like a resolution of the mystery, which is that, like I said, the acquaintance girl felt like she was being, when she was younger, it felt like the milkmaid rumor, which is her like sleeping with her teacher and being called a milkmaid, that was kind of forced onto her as a reality that was around her that everyone started believing, even though she knew that it wasn't true. And in order to get revenge on the main girl, she kind of does the same thing to her, which is like force this like reality onto this main girl, knowing that like the girl inside knows that it didn't actually happen and none of this is reality. And it's like she wanted to induce that same kind of terrible experience onto this girl. And she's like clearly a villain in this regard because of that. But the interesting thing is that the conclusion of this episode is this image here on the screen, which is that by the end of it, the main character in the episode gets control of the little device, the multiverse device, and she names herself like Empress of the Universe. And the big thing is that there is like no real good person in this story. Like the obviously the person torturing the main girl by gaslighting her is like wrong. Obviously the girl who kind of commands the universe to be her own like empire is wrong. Like there's really no good person at the end. It's an interesting subversion, you know, a bad person is kind of winning by the end of the story. I like it. Fantastic ending. The ending kind of makes this episode really good as well. It's poetically beautiful, you know, in an interesting way. Now, what else is there? Oh, the final episode note to say on this episode is that, you know, this episode was directed by the great Toby Haynes. And I didn't realize this until now, but he is a very, very good director. And I've liked basically everything that I've ever seen him direct. Last season, he did Demon 79, which was a beautifully directed episode. This season, he did both this episode and the USS Callister episode, which was a beautifully directed episode. Also, in addition to this, he's done, in Doctor Who, he's done The Christmas Carol, beautiful episode. The Impossible Astronaut, beautiful episode, as well as other episodes, I'm sure. The Reichenbach Fall from Sherlock, one of my favorite episodes of all time. He directed like 6 episodes, I think, from Andor season 1, another like beautiful looking show. He's a really good director, so it's great to see him here. Oh, like another, just like a small directing thing I just remembered, which is that throughout this episode, you also have like there'll be a big, loud, blaring music, and the day will like show up. It'll be like Monday, and it'll be like a really scary kind of like like suspenseful, like, oh my god, this just happened, and it's like chronicling the week of this like girl as she's going throughout her life, and it's like, this is cool, like directing or editing decisions, you know, really cool. But that was episode 2. Now we have episode 3. So the premise for this is that a modern day actress from whatever 2020s, I guess, enters using virtual reality or whatever, like a weird like entering your brain kind of thing. Enters an olden days like TV show basically. So the premise is that like they're gonna recreate this old TV show from like the 70s or something, like a black and white TV show, 60s maybe, I don't know. When was TV invented? I have no idea. And they're gonna insert it and remake it by having this modern day actress literally insert them into the old TV show and like act out like a new kind of story, or play an existing role in that movie, but as like a new performance or whatever. So it's a very sci-fi kind of interesting thing. The main appeal of this episode is absolutely the clashing of the aesthetics of the modern day actor, or I guess actress, whatever the term is that you meant to use, the modern day actress, with the olden days kind of black and white aesthetic, weird, like kind of olden day accents, like I think it's like British accents or something, I don't know. And the really kind of like fancy dresses that they're wearing and the way they like the way they carry themselves. It's like the clashing of these aesthetics is like so different. And it's absolutely the main appeal. It's just like the impressive, like, just how much you completely buy, like the authenticity of the olden day kind of filming. Like I completely buy that this was like a movie that was filmed like in the 70s or whatever. Like it's really well done. Yeah. So I guess the old film style, the black and white, impressively authentic feeling is what my note has. Yeah. The main actress like feels like she's not even, it's crazy because she feels so out of place, like in terms of the way she's like acting, the things she's saying and stuff, to like all the other characters that surround her, that it's like impressive, like in terms of all regards. Like she's impressive as like an actress, like kind of doing that. The other people are like equally as impressive, like just making me buy that they don't belong in this time. Like it's really good, especially the main like woman opposed to her, Dorothy, I think was her name. She's really, really good. She is the best performance in this by far. So yeah. Now that's the main appeal of this episode. I'd probably give this one a 4 out of 5 because I think it tries a bit too hard to be comedic. Like, at the same time as you have this episode, this like kind of storyline going on inside this like fantasy world of like the story from the 70s or 60s or whatever, at the same time you have like the people in reality, in the modern day, who are like managing the simulation. And they're a ragtag like group of like filmmakers or like technology filmmakers who are like kind of cracking one-liners and like making jokes about stuff, and I don't like it. The comedy itself is not very funny. The times that they do it are like not very funny. Like this woman is like trapped in a simulation at some point. They're like they know that she's potentially gonna die in like the next few hours, and they're like cracking jokes about how like remakes are bad, and I'm like, oh my god, it's not the time for this. So yeah, I would say the comedic element or comedic tone to some parts of this is not a very good appeal. Another thing is there's one thing that really annoyed me in this, which is like the initial seeding for why the AI woman who is like part of Dorothy or whatever, why she kind of starts doubting reality, like doubting her own existence. is because they kind of the main actress woman picks out an apple and is like, what color is this apple? And Dorothy like can't name. She's like, I don't know. And obviously the implication is because it's black and white, it actually has no color, right? And because she lives in a black and white world, she can't perceive it. It's just so incredibly like so dumb. Like how is it that this actress has like not this actress this like character, this AI has never once questioned something like this? Like how is it that the programmer who is programming this can't just make her like see? Because sorry, why can't they just make her see the apple as green? Like, and it's like built on the, or like contested by the fact that like when the main modern actress is in this movie, the characters, the AIs in this world don't see her as herself, but they see her as like a guy, like the main like old actor who used to be in this movie. So it's like if they can change the perception of these people to not see literally what is seen in front of them, why is it that she's seeing this black and white apple and doesn't know the color of it when it should have a color associated with it? Because how would reality exist otherwise? It's just silly, I guess. Like the sci-fi like element in that regard was a bit silly. But you know, minor gripe. Well, that was episode 3 of Black Mirror. Now we have episode 4. A man makes friends with AI creatures in a video game. And these creatures in a video game kind of influence reality by the end of the story. So this is the best episode of the season, easily. I'd say the second best one is definitely the one with the woman getting gaslit. Like that was really good. This is my favorite one though. I love it. It's absolutely fantastic, ambiguous sci-fi is what I would say. I'm constantly like on the edge of my seat, like where is this going to go? And the way it goes at the end is basically has a completely ambiguous ending. Like this is really interesting. I guess to summarize, if for some reason you haven't seen this, you should go watch it firstly. It's a really good standalone episode about like AI and stuff. The idea is that you have this I think he's a programmer. Oh no, he's a reviewer. He reviews video games, and he gets access to an early copy, like a single, like standalone copy of this AI-based video game, where all it is like it's a simulation of this little like 2D world, and you have like one little AI that you start with, and when he gets like happy enough, he like splits into 2 AI, and those 2 like communicate and build like a little world, and when they're happy, they split into like 4 AI, and you know the happier you make them, and the more you like fulfill their needs and stuff, they keep splitting until they have like their whole little AI society, and they can like communicate with the player, and they communicate with the main guy to kind of like get him to bring more like powerful equipment so they can be run on a more powerful device, and they develop their own like kind of language, and he can interact with them like their language like eventually, and they eventually develop technologies so they can implant themselves into like his brain so they can communicate directly to him, and it's like all this like slow building up toward like where is this leading? Like this AI is getting more and more control and power, and like communication is getting crazy, and at one point like his friend comes over, and his friend like he thinks it's just a video game, so he starts like killing all the AI, and you're like, oh no, how is this going to influence the way they see humanity? And it's just so engaging. And by the end of this episode, the big revelation is something that was seeded very early on in the episode, which is that there's like because we're slightly in the future, we live in a world where there's like this basically very like powerful government supercomputer that is like monitoring all the systems in the world and everything like that. And the plan of the main character through the Throng, the AI, the Throng is their name, their plan was to get this guy arrested so that they could flash this kind of code to this like supercomputer monitoring system, so that they could then utilize the power of this supercomputer monitoring system to send out the signal to all of humanity, so that humanity could be cleansed of all their violence and need for conflict and all that, and humanity can live at peace. Or at least that's what they say, because the final like ending of this episode is that all of humanity basically blacks out, and you don't see what happens. They all pass out, and we have no idea what happens to humanity going forward. Are they going to be saved by the Throng? Was the Throng lying? Is what the Throng doing a bad thing? Like it's just completely left open-ended and ambiguous, and it doesn't have like a big prescription on like why AI relationships are bad or good or anything like that. It's just a wonder. It's an engaging thing to watch. It's a good ambiguous ending where conclusion doesn't really matter at all. Played by the great Peter Capaldi, if you can believe it, the 12th Doctor himself. Fantastic. I like this episode a lot. Now, is there anything else I could possibly say about this? I guess one thing is to just talk about, like, immediately this episode has like a bunch of really small, like, detailed sci-fi stuff, which I like. One is that they talk about this law in 2029 where like DNA is mandated to be taken. You go into this guy's house, and he has like a bunch of cool weird tech stuff that you don't know quite it is. There's mentions of like the Tucker Corporation, which is like obviously a big Black Mirror thing where you see like the Tucker Corporation throughout. There's the government supercomputer mentioned. There's like a bunch of small things like this seeded throughout. I'm like, oh, this is like a cool little sci-fi slightly in the future universe of like 2029. Well, maybe beyond 2029 or whatever. But it's like in the future, you know, it's really cool. Yeah, the ambiguity, the ending is really cool. Oh, and there's also a loose Bandersnatch connection, which is that the guy who develops the video game is a guy who's in Bandersnatch, and It's interesting because I did Bandersnatch was like 7 years ago and I barely remembered it. So as soon as I saw that guy show up in this, I went and like paused the episode. I went to YouTube and I like watched like a Bandersnatch recap, which wasn't really that relevant at all. Like I don't think it really had anything to do with this story, but it was funny that this was like a very loose overlap with that. So that was cool. But yeah, I hope in my description and my passion when I was retelling that episode, I convinced you that it's really good, because beyond this I don't have any notes to say about this episode. But yeah, that was episode 4. Oh, okay, now we have episode 5. A man's friend has died. Lady friend, to specify, because romance is like a big part of this. A man's former girlfriend, I guess, has died. With the assistance of an AI, he is trying to recall memories of her for her funeral or whatever. This was an interesting episode because when I was going through it, I didn't enjoy it that much. Like it was it was okay. It was perfectly passable. But when I got to the end of the episode, it kind of retrospectively made the rest of the episode a lot better. And like, it would be better on a subsequent rewatch, I think. Because this episode has like a plot twist at the end. So throughout this whole thing, just to describe, am I hearing something? No, I'm hallucinating here, but just like, oh my God, just like Black Mirror, episode 2. What was I saying? Oh my God, the premise in a bit more detail is that you have this guy who kind of hates this like woman that he like used to date or whatever because she like left him or something like that. And he finds out that she died. And as part of finding out that she died, he gets like this gift, which is like an AI little chip you can put on your head and it'll talk to you. And the goal of this AI is to kind of like arrange like a funeral procession for this like lady who died. And he's basically communicating with this AI, trying to like find the right things to say, like a message or like get photos or something, so that they can use this for the funeral. And the twist at the end, like as you're going throughout this, he kind of like remembers more and more about her. He starts off like not quite remembering much about her and just like not really liking her that much. And as you explore the memories of when he was younger, just to say he's like 50 or 60 in this, I don't know how old, but when he's like exploring the memories of them younger together, he's kind of becoming more nostalgic for them and getting more of like a positive kind of feeling. And at the end of the episode, you find out that like his life could have gone a completely separate way, because what happened was that their breakup eventually was she cheated on him and accidentally got pregnant. And she left to go to a train station or whatever and left a note to say that if you still want to be with me, then, or if you want to talk about this, come see me at the train station tomorrow. If you don't show up, I'm going to assume that you just never want to see me again because I cheated on you or whatever. And we'll go our separate ways. And because he was like, I think he was like drunk or something or angry, he never saw the letter, and he never got to like live out that life that he wanted, because he absolutely would have gone to see her, and he regrets it. And it's so unbelievably sad. And I'm sure there's like other details I'm forgetting. It's been a while since I watched it, but it was incredibly impactful to like kind of learn that truth, that it's like, man, what a regret. Like I wish I never like missed that letter. I wish I read it. If only I went and talked to her that day. If only our lives could have been so much different. We could have been so much happier. And now that she's dead, there's no way he can even apologize and like give his own feelings. And yeah, it's just incredibly sad. Yeah, let me see if there was any other details here. She wrote him a letter that he never saw. Yeah, sad. Now, that's like the main kind of appeal of this episode. The second thing is that this feels like the closest in terms of sci-fi. It feels like the closest episode to reality, because this like voice that they're using, like this little AI thing that they've got, very much felt like a ChatGPT like voice mode, where it's like an AI that's like always there and it's like talking to you in a very like kind of normal voice, and it has like limitations. You can't just do everything, and yeah, it's kind of cool. And even like the technology, it has to like re-render memories and stuff, where you like give it a little photo and it'll like project it into a space, but some parts, because you like can't see behind someone's hand, it'll be like a little blurred or like bit like mosaic or something. That technology is like kind of cool and realistic as well. So I like the sci-fi in this, like the subtle little sci-fi elements, you know. But yeah, the only other note to say about this episode is that the main guy, it was a really, really good actor. Yeah, I don't have examples or anything, but I just remember being completely invested in like his emotions when I was watching this. So yeah, that was episode 5. And now we have episode 6, which is the USS Callister sequel. So Black Mirror many years ago had this episode called the USS Callister. And this was like many years ago. I don't know how many, but a long time ago. I think it was the first season that when Netflix picked up Black Mirror as like their kind of show to have. And it's basically this like virtual reality game where this corporation is making it, and one of the creators of the game is kind of being bullied by the other creator, and to kind of get out his aggression, he kind of like clones the creator into the game, like has a clone version of him, as well as other random like people at his work. And he's a very abusive kind of captain of the ship in that sci-fi world that they exist in this virtual reality. And there's like a whole story in that first one where they kind of escape into their own, like the AI creatures, the AI like virtual reality people escape into their own world. And this is like following that story. Now, just to say before I tell you what I thought about this, I was not looking forward to this at all. Like I love Black Mirror because it gives you like 6 different stories every season. Sometimes less. It used to be 3 or whatever, but you get different stories. That's the whole appeal of it. I was like, God damn it, why are we wasting a whole episode on this premise that was already played out, that we got a conclusion to, that we don't need to ever see any more of? Why are we doing this? And boy, was I wrong. This was fantastic. This felt like a standalone movie. Like, unironically, this felt like a movie, both in terms of like how much I was engaged in like a nice, coherent, contained story, just production-wise, like how good it looked, like CGI-wise and just visual effects in general. Just directing-wise, again, directed by the great Toby Haynes. He continues to be the best director in all of Black Mirror so far. Yeah, this was a fantastic episode. I like this, at least from my memory. I haven't re-seen the first part of the USS Callister from 2017 or something. I don't even know. In a long time, but this is like better than that. I was really engaged with this. This is like one of the best episodes of this season, which itself is a 5 out of 5. So it's like, man, really, really good. Yeah, so movie level production, fantastic direction, of course, is Toby Haynes. Actual good comedy, like there's some funny bits in this. The crazy plot twist midway through where the main character gets hit by a car and dies or goes brain dead. Crazy. I think the best, I mean, it's just hard. Like, overall, it's just so engaging and fun to watch, and the characters are fun, the dynamics are fun, like, the sci-fi concept is fun. But the best scene in this, or the best, like, kind of part of the story, is when you go to the garage within the virtual reality world, which is the garage where the creator of the game has a cloned version of himself in the game that is upholding this reality, basically. Basically, what you do is you visit the god of this reality, this virtual reality. And it's really cool. It's like directed really cool, where it's in this like little lit up like garage in this otherwise dark, like weird sci-fi world. He's got like cool powers and stuff because he's a god. He can like levitate things with his hands, and it's really neat. And this scene is really interesting because it's like you're a bit nervous because, you know, in the last episode, like the USS Callister episode, the first part 1, he was a bad person, right? He was torturing these people. He clearly was a bad person. But the thing is that when you're watching that episode, the initial one, you're willing to like to say that maybe he is a bad person because of the way he was bullied by his other co-founder into being that kind of person. Like, maybe he's not always like that. He's just like, he's so depressed about how he didn't become that successful person he wanted to be, and despite founding this corporation, he's really no one now and no one really cares about him, stuff like that. And maybe he wasn't always a bad person. So when we see him in this reality here, this clone of him is from the early days when he was first working on the game, before his like life went down the wrong path. You're thinking maybe he'll still be a good person. And everything hints toward that, where you've got like, he's doing this test on the main lady, where he gives her the options of like, you can either choose the red pill or the blue pill. Red pill, where it's like, I don't remember which is which, but I think it's like one of the pills is like you get to save yourself and like leave into the real world, like by taking over your dead body, or you like stay in this world and save your friends instead. And it's like, she chooses the good option, and it turns out that, oh my god, he was just testing her. He's not a bad person forcing her to make a decision. He's gonna give her the best of both worlds and actually let her leave and save her friends. And it's like, oh look, he actually is a good person. And then you keep going and you find out that no, he actually is a rotten person from the beginning because he wants to keep her here, you know? It's like, oh, you know, I could let you leave, but actually, like, you know, I actually just want you to stay here a little bit. And it's like, he is a creep, and yeah, it's a really, really good twist. I like it. To be honest, I don't have too much to say about this episode beyond just like really, really engaging and fun. Great scene at the end. Now, there's one specific note I wanted to make about this, which is that, oh my god, this is like probably the thing that immediately sold me on the episode. It's like a really tiny thing, which has nothing to do with anything, but this episode opens with a not literal, I guess it depends what you mean, but a Star Wars reference, like as direct as you could possibly be, which is, and it's so wild, because it's like, initially you open with a very, very Star Wars-like music, and you open with the classic, like, this is what it is in every single, like, Star Wars movie. You open with a shot of a planet, like, in the sky, like, in the space, sorry, and you pan down to see the planet, the music is playing, and then you go to the planet. The guy has, like, this weird thing that looks like a lightsaber, and he's, like, practicing with lightsaber. It's like, man, they're, like, directly referencing Star Wars stuff here. Even toward the end of the episode, there's, like, they're having fights with, like, ships and stuff, and clearly it's, like, inspired by Star Wars, and I was just immediately sold. I'm like, oh my god, if we can do fun stuff like this in this sci-fi, like, kind of story, it's great. I like it a lot. But that was USS Callister. 5 out of 5. I love this a lot. It's like a standalone movie. Go watch it. But yeah, that was Black Mirror season 7. One of the best seasons of this show. Really impressive. So next up, we have Garden of Sinners, movies 5 to 8. Now, for this, I really don't have much to say. This is a video game. Oh, no, sorry. What? Jesus Christ. Sorry. It's not a video game. I was getting a bit ahead of myself reading my notes ahead. This is a movie series that I have dreaded watching, okay? Let's just say it got a 2 out of 5 overall. If you want to know what I really thought about this, go to the secondary ENT channel. I should link it in the description, hopefully. Kyle Entertainment's second channel, where I did a full review of movies 5 to 8 with Kyle. The big takeaway is that I was confused. I was not enjoying them that much. There's a few good bits, especially episode 7, like the final movie before the epilogue, has a scene that made me cry. So if you can believe it or not, these like movies that I didn't like otherwise actually made me cry. But the epilogue is like probably the worst thing I've ever seen in my life and was the biggest struggle to get through. It's so boring and they're talking about all these philosophical concepts that I don't care about whatsoever. I don't know. What can I say? Go watch that discussion. It'll be more than I could possibly say here. Not a good bunch of movies, didn't like them, and yet I cried tears because of how deeply it resonated with me at one particular point. That's my big takeaway for the Garden of Sinners, but that's it. Next up, we have Baldur's Gate 3, which is a video game. It's 68 hours of gameplay to get through this, and I played it from February through May, basically. So basically, just to give my overall thoughts, it was great. This is a 4 out of 5. So I played this with 3 friends. It was unbelievably fun. I guess for context, if you know anything about Baldur's Gate 3, I don't. I was going to say, like, I played this character and I played this role. I don't know anything about that, okay? I was a character that can do magic. I don't know if that's like a wizard or a warlock or a mage, or I have no idea. I could use magic. It was really cool. I had a bunch of spells. It was a lot of fun. Let's start with the positives. There's a few positives, there's a few negatives, and then stuff I'd probably do next time. One of the positives is how fun it was. Another positive was that I guess this is the first time I was a bit hesitant going into this because this is a turn-based game. And I had this like impression in my mind that turn-based games were incredibly boring and slow-paced, and I just really didn't want to play them. But this is the first one I've ever played where I've invested significant time into it, and it turns out it was great. It was fun. You could like strategize like what you're going to do next. Like you could have your moment to shine where it's like, oh, now I'm going to do my thing and everyone's going to watch my turn. And there's like funny moments where like, oh my God, you're like building up this great strategy and this like 5-part thing. We're all going to do this and this and this and then you like walk on like a little bit of wax and trip over and you're like out of commission for like 3 turns. And it's like, it's really funny. Yeah, just the gameplay was actually kind of fun, surprisingly, because I wasn't expecting to like a turn-based game. I guess one thing to say beforehand also is that I don't really have any comments on the story whatsoever because it was very hard to like, I mean, it's hard to pay attention to a story when you got like 4 people all playing at the same time and we're like having fun and stuff. It's like, I found it personally hard to pay attention to what's happening. So I'm sure I'll probably go back one day and watch like a recap on YouTube. I know there's like a million different endings or whatever, but yeah, I don't really have any comments on the story. But back to the good things. I think this game was a very good mix of like having free roaming where you could like go around anywhere. It had a good mix of that and combat, and as well as like required story elements where it's like, oh, you have to do this to kind of progress the story. Like I liked the good mix of like all that together. That was really good. Oh, excuse me. One very, very specific positive thing is that the walking around is like kind of slow in this game, but I do like there's a very cool mechanism in this where it's like, say you want to go meet up with someone. If they're within a reasonable kind of same like area as you, or like slightly away from you in terms of area, you can like double click their character and then click where they are and your character like auto routes to go there. And it's like really cool. It's like, you don't need to do fast traveling, which can be kind of boring sometimes in other games. Like you're literally still going to travel there, but you don't have to like manually like figure out all the path to get there. It like does it automatically. So that's like a cool game mechanic, I think. The second like kind of maneuvering mechanic that I liked a lot and made my game a lot more fun when I unlocked it was the ability to fly. Like it speeds up your movement like a little bit. It lets you like traverse like interesting areas and like get to like go up high and go down low, and it like differentiates you a little bit from your other teammates and stuff as well, where they can't like do that as easily. Because it's a very fun ability to fly. So I like that a lot. My final like kind of positive thing, I don't really have much to say about this, but the final positive thing is that it's an incredibly impressive game just in terms of scale. Like the amount of like different places in the world and the amount of different NPCs and like fights and events you can trigger and things you can do and the amount of dialogue and dialogue variations. Like it's an incredibly impressive game in terms of scope, I would say, and scale. So yeah, it was fun. Now there's a few negatives. There's only 2 that I've really got. One is like a glitch, so it doesn't even really count because I'm sure I could fix this one day, but toward like my latter like 10 hours of the game, maybe, there was a glitch where sometimes when I would change perspectives by like clicking another character, or if during a fight when it like forces you to change like which character you're following, my game would glitch and it would show like a black screen. I couldn't do anything until my friend either put it in photo mode and then back into normal mode, or I had to like go into my settings and like change like a certain setting to fix it. It was very frustrating, but that's just a glitch. It didn't really bother me that much, but it's a little negative thing. The other this is like the main drawback of the game, why it's not like a 5 out of 5, I guess, is the fights are fun. I like them, but I guess they get a little repetitive, because what happens is that basically you'll end up, at least me personally, as like a person using magic, I would end up basically using the same like 3 to 4 spells every time. Yeah, so it was like a little, the combat itself probably could be made a little more interesting somehow. Now, maybe that's my fault for like the class I chose or the build I chose or something. Like maybe there's more interesting classes to play out there, but it got a little repetitive is what I would say. That's the positives, that's the negatives. And now for what I do next time, there's 2 things. One is that I think it would be a lot of fun to like actually role play as your character. Like you like design a certain character that you want to be, and you like do voices, or you pretend like when you're talking to your teammates, you like kind of call them their character names and do stuff. I think that'd be really fun to commit to that. It's like a whole playthrough. And the second thing would be to actually commit to like one storyline where like as you go forward, you're going to, if accidents happen or if you make bad decisions, you got to commit to them. Like in our playthrough, what we did was that whenever like say we accidentally hit something and cause like the whole town to be angry at us, or if we accidentally cut off a storyline too early by killing a certain person or whatever, we'd like go back in an old save and then start again or whatever. I didn't like that. Like, I mean, next time I want to play, I'm definitely going to be like a one-time playthrough. Any accidents that happen, I think are going to be continuous and stay throughout, you know? But yeah, that's really all I have to say. Baldur's Gate 3, very highly recommend this, enjoyable. I highly recommend playing this with friends as well. I think it was really accentuated by the fact that I played with friends, but yeah, great time. Next up, we have Wonder Egg Priority, plus a rewatch. I watched it twice, if you can believe it. So this is an anime. It's 13 episodes, and I finished it first on the 17th of May, and then I finished the second like watch through on the 29th of May. Now, if you're truly interested in my thoughts on this, go check out the other videos on the other video on this channel, the Wonder Egg Priority discussion with Kyle Entertainment. I think it's a few videos ago, so go have a look. Yeah, I like this show a lot. There's like a few main appeals to this. One is that it's like visually, it's beautiful. It has a fantastic soundtrack. I love a lot of the characters. Like I think I love like basically all the characters. The 2 that stand out the most to me are definitely so Ai Oto, and Rika Kawaii, you know, Kawaii, like Kawaii because she's cute or whatever. We love those 2. Their interactions are great. They're like each individual character is fantastic. The fights are great. Everything production wise is great. I love Ai and her relationship with her mother. There's a mystery throughout of like, why did Koito, like Ai's friend, why did she kill herself? Like that's all really engaging. And we get a really, really satisfying answer to that, which was really cool. I love like episode 11 of this show, like the second last of or the third last episode, I guess, where it's like a really cool sci-fi story with this family who creates a daughter, and then the daughter ends up killing the wife and daughter and blah, 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 whatever. Really good sci-fi stuff. I'm keeping this kind of like pretty high level, because if you really want to know what I thought about this, go watch the episode with Kyle Entertainment on this channel. It's a wonderful story. I think the only disadvantage to this is that it's very much an incomplete story. I'm hoping for a season 2 one day. I'm not really expecting it, but I would absolutely eat up a season 2. And that would be the thing. It may be like a cohesive, complete story with like 2 seasons would make this a 5 out of 5. But as it stands now, it's definitely a 4 out of 5. But that's Wonder Egg Priority. Go check out that discussion. Next up, we have Serial Experiments Lain, which is another show, which I have a discussion series for. So head over to Secondary ENT to go see my thoughts on this. So this is an anime. It's 13 episodes long, and I watched it or finished it on the 27th of May. So overall, I have 2 main things to say about this. One of them is that Serial Experiments Lain is incredibly confusing and incredibly boring for the most part. Now, the one thing that saves this to be a 3 out of 5 instead of a 2 out of 5, so to be something overall positive than negative, is the unbelievably strong tone that it has. I don't quite know how to explain it beyond saying that it gives like a certain vibe or tone that is really, really like you feel it. And it's unique and it's very Lain, and other things don't do it, which I guess is another way of saying it's unique. But I will forever associate it with the show. And when I think of this feeling, I'm like, man, this is like it's really interesting. I like it. And it's a way, I think it's established like through the directing and the weird like voice choices and the way that characters look and the expression. Like it's like a combination of like everything in this story that kind of creates this interesting, like weird sci-fi, depressing, like cyberpunk tone, I guess. And it really, really delivers on that tone. So I don't know what to say. If you really want to know like in-depth thoughts, go check out the Secondary ENT channel. But, you know, kind of boring. 1, really good tone. 2. That's all I really have to say at this point in this digest. Next up, or the second last thing on this list, is The Last of Us Season 2. So this is a TV show, 7 episodes, and I watched this on the 13th of April and finished on the 27th of May. And again, this is an episode. This is a series where you can go watch my true thoughts on this in a weekly discussion that I did with Kyle Entertainment every week when the episode would come out. So go check out the Secondary T channel again. My overall thoughts on this is that I like season 1 of Last of Us a lot. I'd probably give it like a 4 out of 5, I think. I think that's what I did give it when I did my digest back in the day. Now, it's kind of surprising because I don't quite remember what I liked about that. I remember liking the Ellie and the Joel stuff. I remember liking them traveling around. But I don't quite like, I basically, this is a 2 out of 5. I didn't like this season much at all. There was a lot of issues with this. But I don't quite know what the difference is between this and season 1. Like, it very much feels like a same, like, coherent show, like, for that season and this season. But this one I just didn't like much. My main issues are, like, what even are my main issues? I don't even know. Like, there's, like, little differences to the stuff that I remembered. Like, the whole Joel death episode was, like, nowhere near as good as, like, the actual game. I just didn't like it. There's a lot of, like, Ellie I don't buy as a very good character or actor or anything like that. Like, I don't like her performance or her, like, character writing or anything. A lot of the characters are, I remember there's this terrible monologue that Dina gives at one point about her backstory, which was terrible. I don't even, like, there's not, like, one thing I can point to where I'm like, this is the thing. It's, like, bad acting or, like, bad something. Like, there's nothing like that where I'm like, this is what really took me out. It just wasn't engaging. I don't know. I don't really know what to say. I'm not really looking forward to a season 2. Like, you can tell immediately when you watch this season, and it opens with this scene with, like, Abby standing outside this, like, graveyard with a bunch of, like, tombstones or whatever, or, like, crosses. And I'm like, why do I care about this? Why these characters are, like, monologuing about people that we don't know, we don't care about. We're meant to, like, pretend that we care about this. I guess the investment is kind of probably the thing. If I had to choose one word to kind of describe why I didn't like this season, it's like a lack of investment. Like, I didn't feel emotionally invested in, like, any of the stories. Yeah, it's like, I don't know, maybe I'll reflect on this like a year from now and see what I really thought about it. But right now, all I really have to say is that I just didn't like this season. And if you really want to know why, I guess you can go and watch my, like, 7 hours of content with Kyle, probably more, honestly, to see what we thought about it. But yeah, go check out Secondary NT for that. And last up, we have Doctor Who 2023 Season 2. So this is a TV show. It's 8 episodes long, and I watched it from the 12th of April to the 31st of May. And I'm sad to announce that this was Ncuti Gatwa's final season as Doctor Who, or in Doctor Who as the Doctor. Incredibly sad, very disappointing. He was a fantastic Doctor, easily up there with, like, the likes of David Tennant and Peter Capaldi, and of course my favorite, Matt Smith. It's so sad to see him go. That's my big, like, initial thing to say. Now, I really, really liked the last season of Doctor Who. Season 1 of this new reboot was absolutely fantastic. I think I gave it a 4 out of 5 or a 5 out of 5. I really, really liked it. It had, like, all-time great episodes, like 73 Yards and, like, The Legend of Ruby Sunday. Is that what it was called? The second last episode of last season. That was a really, really good episode. These are, like, all-time, like, Doctor Who episodes that I really like. What else was there? It was, like, there was the Church on Ruby Road. All-time, like, Christmas episode. Like, up there with the Christmas, well, maybe not quite a Christmas Carol, but, like, really, really good episodes last season. Great overarching mystery in Sutek that I really, really liked. Yeah, this season, 3 out of 5. Okay, there were a few episodes here and there that I liked. Like The Well, I thought that was a really cool episode, and especially unbelievably, like, I can't believe they finally made a sequel to Midnight. And I can't believe they made a sequel to Midnight. Now, it was actually a really good episode. So that was good. The Interstellar Song Contest, that was good. The one with Conrad, like, that episode was good. The finale was not good. It just felt like a complete mess. The mystery throughout the show of, like, who is Mrs. Flood and, like what's going on there, I did not find that interesting. There was a weird, like, barbershop episode that I was frankly confused by. Belinda I liked. Like, Belinda was a good companion, but I feel like she didn't really get much, and all the best, like, companion stuff was, like, with Ruby in this season. Ruby I love Ruby a lot. She's one of my favorite characters. What can I say? The Rani was a terribly disappointing, like, conclusion, and just character in general. I can't believe there was no answer to, like, the fourth wall breaks that Mrs. Flood was doing. What else can I say? And it's just, this is Ncuti's last season, and he was absolutely fantastic as the Doctor. I'm so sad that it's happening now. And it feels weird. It feels like it comes out of nowhere. doesn't feel satisfying, like of a conclusion. I just don't know what to say. A very, very disappointing season of Doctor Who. Now, I guess if you want to know my thoughts on, like, I guess the latter few episodes of the season, you can go watch my reactions. But to be honest, the general thoughts are, like, each episode was, like, perfectly fine. But most of them just didn't have anything that stood out, as special as, like, the things that were there last season that were really good. And, yeah, it was incredibly disappointing, and I don't know why. I don't know how it ended up like this. But yeah, still overall a positive, a 3 out of 5. And I'm still looking forward to the next season, especially with the reveal at the end that Billie Piper is going to be playing some version of a doctor, seemingly. I'm looking forward to it, but yeah, it was just not a very good season, I would say. But that's my digest. Now, the 2025, oh my god, I almost said 2023 because I used to do this back in 2023. My 2025 leaderboard so far. So, the 1 out of 5s. We now have, finally, 2 1 out of 5s. We have the epilogue for Garden of Sinners, movie 8, and the Garden of Sinners, movie 6. Then we have, in the 2 out of 5s, Garden of Movie, Sinners 5, and then slightly higher up, Garden of Sinners, movie 7, which I actually cried for that one, so congratulations, you got a 2 out of 5 for that. Then we have The Last of Us Season 2 in the 2 out of 5s, followed by Serial Experiments Lain in the 3 out of 5s, then Doctor Who Season 2 in the 3 out of 5s. Then we go to the 4 out of 5s. We have You Can Live Forever, Baldur's Gate 3, Solos, Mitchells vs. the Machines, and Wonder Egg Priority. And then in the 5 out of 5s, we have Black Mirror Season 7. But that's it. That's my digest for these last 2 months. Look forward to the next one that's going to come out hopefully in like a week from now. But yeah, thank you for watching and see you then. Actually, let's do that. Let's pretend I never said that. That was too much of a Kyle Entertainment ending. Thanks for watching. Bye.